Well, Keith Treacy, it was your debut on Off the Ball, co-commentating alongside myself, and wow, what a cracker we got today. It was absolutely brilliant. It finished Newcastle 2, West Ham United 4, and you'd have to say after the first half, Newcastle leading by 2-1, it was, well, I wouldn't say it was hard to see West Ham coming back, but you really felt West Ham would at least get a point out of the game.
Yeah, well, I thought when Newcastle went ahead, I thought West Ham are going to struggle because I thought they would have to do something really, really good or, really break them down, but it didn't seem to me like they had to work that hard. I know Saint-Maximin was floating in between the lines, didn't really offer a lot defensively, but outstanding going forward. I think West Ham, they're good. I think they're good. They're good, strong teams. There's no disgrace losing 4-2 to West Ham at home for Newcastle, but they're too leaky. They leak too many goals. I think they'd only 2 clean sheets in the whole of their home campaign last season, so that needs to change if they want to stay away from relegation. But cracking game for the neutral to watch. I wouldn't want to be a Newcastle fan watching that, given the way they defended, but great for us to comment on it. Yeah,
absolutely. I just wonder, when you mentioned about the leaky defence, there was talk before the game. I think some of the predicted lineups in the Newcastle press, and they would generally have a good finger on the pulse there, they seemed to think that it was going to be Longstaff and Hayden playing in front of the back three, but of course we saw John Joe Shelby playing. Now, he's one of those players, he can be so good on his day, but as we saw today, you can have those wild challenges where he got the yellow card. And I just wonder, would they be better off having 2 holding midfielders like Hayden and someone like Lascelles? Whoever the case may be, they have a couple of options there. Would that be better for them with that formation?
It could be, but I'm like you. I'm a fan of John Joe Shelby. I think he can unlock defences with his passing. But I think Newcastle playing 5 at the back. If you play 2 holding midfielders, that's 6 or 7 players. That are basically defending players. So Newcastle aren't prolific in front of goal, so I think they need to release players to be able to get up the pitch. Saint-Maximin can do it. Almiron can do it. I'm not so sure. Richie was staying at home a lot. The right back Murphy was staying back home a lot. So with 5 at the back and the three centre halves just staying there, it's always going to be tough because you're putting a lot of emphasis on your defending. So I think that's actually what grates on the Newcastle fans as well with Bruce, is that he plays 5 at the back and it's a bit unattractive. But it was so open today. It was really so open, and that's, as if you're Steve Bruce in your office after the game, you're thinking this can't go on. We can't play 5 at the back and let in 4 goals. That can't happen. The whole reason for playing 5 at the back is to not concede goals. So to score 2 should win you a game at home, but conceding 4, it really needs to be looked at for Steve Bruce.
Yeah, and your heart would go out to Fredy Woodman, of course, making his first Premier League appearance in goal for Newcastle with Darlow and Dubravka out injured. And he made a good save in the first half, good save in the second actually as well, I can remember. And of course saved the penalty kick, which again was squirted out and then was scored in the rebound by Soucek. But overall, you'd feel a little bit sorry from conceding 4 goals on his first Premier League appearance, but didn't play badly, as you said during the commentary. Yeah,
like I said, I thought he played well. First game in front of the St James's Fable. Fans are back, so they'd had a year of no fans, so you sort of get into the mould of that, and then all of a sudden the roar as you come up the stairs out of the tunnel. So I think he handled it quite well. West Ham set off like a house on fire. I know they were 1-0 down within 10 minutes, but they set off well. They put the ball into the box 2 or 3 times, and he did handle it quite well. He saved the penalty, saved the one-on-one with Bone, which you would expect Bone to put away. But yeah, really good. And I think although there'll be a couple of fingers pointed around the Newcastle dressing room, I don't think there'll be any pointed at him today.
Yeah, Saint-Maximin, absolutely magnificent. One of the faults you might see in his game, maybe because he's so good. He's one of those players that fans will pay the money in just to watch him playing because he can be so exciting. But he does have weaknesses to his game as well.
He does. It's the defensive side of the game. But I think Steve Bruce managed them well today. I think he just said, "You attack, don't worry. When you lose the ball, we'll get it to you." And I think that's probably the right way to play him. I don't think he's structured enough to play him on the wings. He won't do the tracking back that's required out there. So to put him through the middle, I was questioning it, but he was so effective today. He was at the heart of everything that Newcastle did. I think if he played like that every week, he wouldn't be at Newcastle. I think that was a standout game for him in terms of what he was doing going forward. And obviously the defensive side is not even there. So he's a very good player. Needs to work on the defensive side, his team side of the game. But we've seen what he can do today. And if he plays like that for the whole season, we're talking probably 50 million player.
Yeah, and he has to link up well with Callum Wilson, who, that's another man you'd have to say they have to keep him fit for the whole season. He missed a number of games last season. That went against them. They've only really got Joel Linton there as a backup striker, and some people will question his worth to that squad because he was bought for 40 million quid. He really hasn't backed it up with the amount of goals he scored. So it is crucial that Callum Wilson stays fit for the season for Newcastle.
Yeah, I think you could say the same about a few of the Newcastle players about that. I think like you say, if Callum Wilson gets injured, they're in trouble. I think if Allan gets injured, I think he's a big part of what they do. I think Matt Ritchie at left back, I don't think they've a lot of cover over there either. So I think I think they are quite thin. And again, you go back to why there's a bit of unrest at the Newcastle fans. They've only signed Joe Willock, and they are in need of, you know, a little bit of stardust like Saint-Maximin. They're in need of probably another centre half as well, maybe a left back as well. So there is investment needs to be made. We all know about Mike Ashley not really prepared to do it. So we could harp on about the do's and don'ts in the background in Newcastle, but to keep it what's going on the pitch, I think, you know, did okay today. Probably could have got a draw out of it. Very dodgy. I know they didn't score the penalty, West Ham. Very dodgy penalty decision. But on the whole, I think Newcastle probably a little bit unlucky, and West Ham would be delighted just to pack their bags and get out of there.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, they got debts as well at St James's Park, which won't help them in the transfer window either. And we know another club that's been quiet. In fact, really outside all the big top 6 clubs, has been very quiet transfer window. West Ham, another side like that, they've only really brought in Areola, the goalkeeper, on loan from Paris Saint-Germain. They've been very quiet. And, you know, as you mentioned during the game as well, outside that first kind of 11 to 14 players, there's not a huge amount there in that West Ham squad. And they're going to need a big squad if they're going to tackle Europe and the Premier League and whatever cup competitions they're in as well, because they're going to be playing matches on a Thursday and a Sunday. And as we've seen before, that can be so hard for teams that are not used to European action. Yeah,
listen, I agree. Like I said, I think we seen them with Burnley when they made Europe. They faltered in the Premier League, only just avoided relegation. And I think West Ham will be fearful of something like that. But I think David Moyes he's long in the tooth. He's a very good manager, and I think the difference between Newcastle and West Ham, both not bringing players in, is that West Ham finished 6th in the league, not 6th, just 2 points off of the Champions League position. So David Moyes can spin the narrative that this is all I need. I have what I need here. Use are the lads that are going to bring this club forward. He can use that narrative because he wasn't chasing in the transfer market. They weren't linked with everybody. They've quietly just been happy, so he can spin it to the players like that. He can probably get the dressing room to think about it in a different way, whereas Newcastle just flirting with relegation, just staying up, only spending 25 million on Willock, I think, and the fans are quite vocal that they're not happy, which will spill onto the pitch. It does, although players say it doesn't. It really does spill onto the pitch. So the fields around the clubs are very, very different, and I think West Ham, you know, I wouldn't like to see Mikel Antonio get injured. There's 2 or 3 in there I wouldn't like to see get injured from a West Ham point of view, but I think on the whole, I think Moyes will probably spin it a better way.
Just looking as well then at West Ham, like you know, when they start tackling those European games, you know, like do they kind of try and play most of the first team players in Europe, and you know, they can't really kind of take the foot off the gas in the Premier League either. It's going to be really tough for him to kind of rotating players in those games.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think Moyes will try and find a balance in between whether he's going to go for Europe or just go to get a decent position in the Premier League. I think he will find a balance. He'll play the first couple of European games, see the feel of it, see, you know, where they're at with the level of competition they're going to get. And I see why not go for it, because they're not going to win the Premier League. They might win the FA Cup or something like that, but why not go for it? Why not give your fans something to cheer off? Like, if you're going to finish 10th in the Premier League, you might as well finish 15th and have a really good European run. I think the fans would enjoy that more.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen the Spanish clubs doing well when they take it seriously. You know, we've seen so many Spanish clubs winning or getting to the final of that tournament, so why not? I just wanted to ask you as well about the Irish involvement in today's game. Of course, Darren Randolph not on the bench for West Ham as Areola comes in to take that place. So worrying times for Randolph coming into the latter stage of his career. He probably needs to start looking at the exit door of West Ham.
Yeah, he does. I was asked this question yesterday about Shane Long at Southampton, whether he should move on or not, given the Irish involvement coming up. But personally, he should move on. Will he move on? You know, when you look at it from a human's point of view, his kids are settled, his wife will be settled. He probably won't move on. He's long in the tooth. He's at a Premiership club, although he's not playing week in, week out. He's getting a decent wage. He's going to play for Ireland regardless. I mean, Randolph is going to play for Ireland regardless. So I don't think he'd be too pushed to leave, to be honest. Should he leave? Yeah, we can debate that, you know, long into the night, that he should leave. It's the right thing for him. It's the right thing for him as a footballer. But in terms of his wife and kids, I don't think he will leave.
And a couple of things to know about the Newcastle team. Jeff Hendrick first. It's a concern for him, obviously, starting the game on the bench today. But there's a bit of time for him maybe to work his way back into that starting team. Where would you see him kind of fitting in with the Newcastle team you saw today?
Well, I think if Bruce is going to play a 5 and a 2, obviously Jeff is not going to be anywhere near that, so he'll have to be the one in front of the holding 2. I see Almiron ill there, to be honest. I don't see Jeff going that far up the pitch, but he can do a John Joe Shelby role. But like I say, I think John Joe is ahead of him in terms of that. So I don't think he'll play if John Joe's injured or suspended. Other than that, I don't see where he comes into the Newcastle team, and they are light on bodies, and Jeff is a very, very capable player, but I don't see him coming in and being a regular unless there's an injury to John Joe.
Yeah, it's a concern for him, I suppose, coming into his peak years at 28 years of age. Kieron Clark, though, we did remark before the game, he looked in absolutely fantastic shape. So that's one thing to note about him as well. But also the fact, well, he played very well at the back, but also those attacking runs he was making for Newcastle. And that'll be interesting to Irish manager Stephen Kenny, who does like to maybe get his defenders pushing up forward. Yeah,
well, it's good. From an Irish point of view, it's good to see Kieron doing that. It's good to see him fit. It's good to see him healthy. I hope he can bring that over to Ireland the next time we're playing. Is he, we were talking about Jeff, and if Jeff is going to play for Newcastle week in, week out, to do what Steve Bruce wants you to do and then to come over here and do what Stephen Kenny wants you to do, the two jobs are the worlds apart. And, he's only going to get 3 or 4 days in an Irish camp to nail down how Stephen wants him to play. And it'll be the same for Kieron. Kieron's a little bit easier that he's in centre defence. He won't be tasked with the creative side so much, but to see Kieron playing well it's a big plus. To see Jeff on the bench, and he's probably going to come in cold, because he probably will play for us when our games come around. He's going to be coming in cold, so it's not great. And in the midfield, especially against the likes of Portugal and stuff like that, you need to be sharp, you need to be bopping it around. So I don't know, if there was a half decent championship move for Jeff, I think it probably would be considered from him personally. I don't think Newcastle would consider it too much, but I think personally he might look to go to a strong championship side.
And just to finish, you mentioned that daunting task that's looming for Ireland, and it is Portugal, of course, who are, we've got to play Azerbaijan and Serbia as well in that window, and they'll be tough enough games, especially the Serbia match, albeit at home this time. But that Portugal match away from home is going to be South Portugal. It's going to be really hot, tough game, but they've shown in previous campaigns, Portugal, they can be slow starters in tournaments, and especially when they're coming off the back of a finals tournament just before it. They were a bit disappointing, so would you be kind of hoping maybe they'll be a little bit undercooked going into this game?
I would be hoping that they're undercooked, yeah. Whether or not I think they will be is a different thing. Listen, Portugal are up there. They're a really, really decent team, especially in Portugal when it's going to be humid and hot, and they're going to have the large bulk of possession. We're going to be shifted around. I don't see where we score if it's a set piece. Other than a set piece, I don't see where we score from open play, because we're going to be penned in our own half. We're going to win the ball. They're going to smother us. We're going to be out of breath. We're going to be running for most of the 90 minutes. This is how I see the game going. I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope we go out there and Shane Duffy scores a header and we win 1-0, which is probably the most likely for an Irish result. But, we can go out there. There is signs of the Stephen Kenny era turning a bit and maybe playing a bit more football. But I don't know. I think we're probably 5-6 years away from seeing a really decent, strong Irish team again.
Okay, Keith. Well, listen, we're looking forward to having you on the mic again in the next few weeks. So well done on the debut. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.